right? They're going to offer you some severance, maybe.
3 weeks.
Oh, okay. That's not worth it. Okay. Give us the rundown, because we're going to go back a week. This was Thursday, I believe, when the news broke. Is this right?
No, last Monday.
Monday. Okay. So it was Monday last week, which is a very odd day to resign / be fired. Usually that stuff happens on a Friday. So my immediate senses go, something happened here. And I don't know if you publicly talked about this, but what happened at Escapist? I know you have no ill will towards them. You've said this publicly, right?
Yeah.
But you also got fired.
Yeah. Well, yeah, the Escapist was my brand. Like, that was our team. So, the Escapist didn't fire me. It was a gamers group that fired me, our parent company. But yeah, it's kind of just the story all this time is corporate media, infinite growth. And, when you pair that with people that are actually creative and talented and want to just create things that people enjoy and not worry about doing 10 million views on it, you're always kind of running in parallel, I guess, with what the corporation wants. They want growth. You want engaged fans and a true audience to that. So, yeah. So we have to go a little bit farther back to get the context.
Yes, listen, we got time. Let's do it. Let's go.
I took over the Escapist in 2019, July of 2019, and basically I was tasked with rebuilding that brand from scratch, because it was just beyond Gamergate and all that stuff. Like, the brand had been kind of completely tarnished. Everybody had left for the most part, and so in 2018, Enthusiast Gaming bought it, the previous parent company to that.
And they put in Russ Pitts as the EIC, correct?
Yeah, they put in Russ Pitts, and he brought back a lot of people that had kind of built the Escapist up. He was trying to kind of make a 2.0 version of what he had started. And it just didn't work out. It kind of came into the same realm that a lot of sites were at the same time, where, very kind of heated articles about politics and stuff like that. And I think people just wanted a space to go talk about video games and movies and TV and not get into all of that. And what I mean by that is not cover politics at all, but a lot of times you can read websites and all that, you feel like you're being talked down to. I'm not really learning anything. I'm just getting kind of somebody's blog thoughts into my feed. And when we started my version of the Escapist, our 3 core pillars were interesting, informative, and fun. And so I'd always told my writers or my video people, you can talk about politics as much as you want, just make it interesting so people actually listen to you and don't just get immediately mad at you. And so I basically had to start building up a team from scratch, because Yahtzee, had the channel on his shoulders and everything. And let me tell you, somebody from the Midwest that had run only my sites with a few thousand people that were interested in it, going from that to a community of 1.2 million is kind of terrifying. Because especially Yahtzee's audience, because they had, by that point, he had been doing it for 11 years, and that's all they wanted. That's all they wanted was Yahtzee. And anybody coming in to mess with that or touch it or do anything with that is they're against you immediately.
Right. And to be clear, a lot of people, with Screw Attack, there's a lot of parallels here, right? Because with Screw Attack, back long time ago, we worked with the Angry Video Game Nerd, and he's obviously has his hardcore audience, right? And with us, he was on our site for a long time, and there was this very much if it's not James, fuck off mentality, right? Yep. And I would imagine that's probably a roadblock that you ran into with people who were like, well, you're not Yahtzee. I don't like you, and this is the only thing that I want. Did you ever feel like there was almost too much pressure working with that audience, and that you weren't going to be able to kind of turn the ship?
Yeah, I mean, at the start for sure, but I kind of came out right away, and I started using the YouTube community tab to basically lay out my plans, make everything really crystal clear. I am not touching zero punctuation. You don't have to worry about that. My only goal is to introduce you to some new creators and introduce new shows and do some cool stuff. And that's really about it. And so as I got into the role, I became known for being very open and honest with the audience about how things were going and what we wanted to do. And so people started to turn on, in my favor for over a while. One of the first things we did was the first time I ever worked with Yahtzee was taking him to E3 for his first time. And as Yahtzee rails on E3, that was a very fun experience where I'm like, oh man, this guy's gonna hate me. I'm making him go to E3. I'm making him go talk to developers. I'm putting him in front of John Romero, who he's roasted his games before, and like we got a great photo op with John Romero staring him down just for social media shits and giggles.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, I was only managing editor of video. I wasn't editor in chief yet. But like right after E3 is when I became editor in chief in July of 2019, and so like the community clearly seen like I'm looking to have fun, like we're looking to do cool stuff. We made a documentary to like commemorate Yahtzee, with the audience there and like really get more of his story and everything. And so that's kind of like really what we did. Like I wanted the Escapist that I built up to honor the legacy that had been come from before with a lot of interesting columns and personality, and not just another, IGN or GameSpot that's just a news board with, you don't know who's writing or who's doing what.
Right. Well, so you're successful in that, and then you obviously to a point to where you bring in a team, you start developing new content, you develop a show, you're working with sponsors. So fast forward, let's in the interest of time,
sure,
we are, it's a week ago.
Yeah.
So what was the
a year ago, like almost a year ago to the like 2 weeks ago was a year ago that we got sold from Enthusiast Gaming to Gamers, which I also found out about on Twitter. It was not fun. I had just bought a house 3 months before that. I'm like, oh fuck, like what's happening? And so we get to Gamers, and like it was actually good. Like when we started out, like we were excited. Like Gamers saw the potential of the Escapist and what we had already started to build and wanted to invest in it. And we really had free reign to do what we wanted to do as long as we were growing. And we were like we grew on the back end. We were working a lot on our premium memberships through Patreon and YouTube memberships, and trying to build basically a sustainable revenue model that would compound year over year to get us to profitability. The problem was, go ahead.
What did that look like? Like you can go into much detail as possible. Like how much does it cost to run a video content, something the size of Escapist with 1.2 million subscribers, X mini shows, blah, 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 blah. Like, is that 100K a month? Is that 50K a month? Like, what do we like? Cause that's the reality of the situation is a lot of people like video costs a lot of money. There's editing attached to it, scripting, and that, so.
Yeah. I mean, like so it's kind of screwy a little bit because back at Enthusiast Gaming, we had a very small budget. There were only 3 of us that were full time: myself, Yahtzee, and Omar Ahmed, our head of media production. And other people were very, very much underpaid for their talent back at EG. So I mean, like we were working with like maybe $40,000 to $50,000 a month to get all that out. And of course, Yahtzee makes the lion's share of that as the head talent. So we really didn't have a lot to work with. We just kind of made it work. So then we get sold to Gamers, and I had warned them at the start that like we had caught up to our costs back at EG through our memberships and live streams and all that stuff, bringing in lots of super chats. And I warned them that I said, like, you want us to grow, but we have to be careful about how we invest, because if you invest too much too quickly, I have to play catch up. And I know where that leads. It led to last Monday, right? Mm-hmm. So they wanted us to grow fast. They wanted us to, expand our show lineup and grow and grow and grow. And so we made the hires that we needed. Well, not even that. So for 6 months, they brought in a manager that was above me, and basically an older guy, really had no idea what he was doing, and basically set us back 6 months. Where I had sponsors and deals and all that I was trying to bring in, and they were just getting shot down because they weren't enough money. And I'm like, any money's good money right now. I got to get profitable. Right.
Especially in today's landscape, it's very hard to generate that stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he gets fired about 6 months ago, and then I take on the role. And at that point I kind of knew, like, okay, well, I am now the guy in charge, so everything's going to fall on me if I don't reach the goals that they want. And so not only was I editor-in-chief of the Escapist, I was also like head of strategy for all of the video channels that they had. And the problem with Gamers is they bought all these brands that had YouTube channels attached to them, but they have not been active for years or months. And as anybody in this space knows, it is really hard to bring a channel back that has a dead subscriber base. So, you know, they wanted me to revitalize Destructoid and Mary Sue and Prima Games and all these things. And I need editors to do that. And like that costs a lot of money to get a channel up and running again like that. So the last thing I was told, it was like 2 months ago. We had just launched a couple new shows like the Stuff of Legends. We just and that show was taking off for us with Frost attached to it. And then my CEO comes in and he's like, the YouTube channel is a little bit boring and stagnant. Like, when are you launching new shows again? I'm like, okay, we can move Cold Take weekly, and we can do something easy to edit with Yahtzee, which was Yahtzee Unscripted. That wouldn't take a lot of effort to do and bump our views up like that. And so we did that. And his goal was for me to get the channel from, this was back in October, 5.66 million views up to 10 million by the end of the year.
Seems very unreasonable.
I was given that goal, and I said, okay, I better start packing my bags because I'm not long for this world.
So you see the writing on the wall.
Yeah.
You see the writing on the wall. They effectively fire you last week. What's that conversation like?
Yeah, so I kind of knew something was coming, because if you work in corporate media long enough, you kind of know when they go silent on you, you're probably in trouble. So I was back home for Halloween for my mother's birthday, and I got like a PDF or a Google Slides file from my manager that basically laid out Yahtzee's profitable, Frost is gonna be profitable, the rest of your stuff isn't. And I'm like, yes, I know all this, thank you. So, but I was like, okay. So I went upstairs. I was pretty pissed, because like this, I've given him the numbers, like I've shown him the bar graphs that show our money going up and up and up because of the memberships and everything. We were on a growth pattern, and everybody knew it on my team. We knew the numbers. They just wouldn't listen to me, and it's fine. And so like at that point, I was like, I pretty much told my parents like, yeah, I'm probably gonna get fired soon. And they didn't really, like, oh, calm down kind of thing. So Monday comes, and I'm messaging my manager at 6 a.m. I'm like, hey, when are we meeting? Because they were actually in London, the CRO, the CEO, and my boss having video strategy meeting. And I wasn't there, and I wasn't invited, and I wasn't told anything. So I was like, okay, I put 2 and 2 together if you're smart. So Monday morning, I'm trying to figure out, hey, when are we meeting today? No response. 9 a.m. Hey, when are we meeting today? No response. 11 o'clock, Omar messages them, when are we meeting today? No response.
Right.
And so by that point, the entire team is kind of up going crazy, like what's happening, like something's coming today. We know it. So we get into a call. We start figuring out like, hey, if something happens today, what are we doing? And because, I had been saying like, I'm probably going to get fired, and everybody was freaking out. So we're in that call, and then I get the message on Slack, can you come have a meeting with me? And HR's in there. I'm like, all right, guys, bye.
This is it, huh?
Yeah. So I go to that call. It's 2 minutes long. It's very, very cold towards me. Like basically, yeah, it's just not working out. We're breaking up with you. See you later. And I basically said in the call, like, I'm not signing anything. I'm not. And they didn't even tell me what the severance was or anything there. I just said, I'm not signing anything.
Right. Why? Why did you not? Why'd you, like, they're offering you a bucket of money, right? I'm assuming, right? They're going to offer you some severance, maybe
3 weeks.
Oh, okay. That's not worth it.
Yeah, no, I had decided I wasn't going to sign anything, because I just knew I didn't want any, like, I'm an online personality, and I'm very transparent with the Escapist audience already, which was getting me in trouble as it was. I was like, there's no way I'm going to sign something that's going to put legal overhead on me, that, if I say something and they're going to come after me for it. And also, like, we knew what we had with the Escapists. Like we knew the numbers. We knew that this audience would follow us if we went somewhere else. I didn't have any idea that this would blow up like this. I just basically, we had decided, basically I got fired. I come back to the call, and then Jack Packard gets the message to come get fired. He's like, okay, see you later. So he goes. And then our newest video editor, Jesse Schwab, gets the call to go get fired. And then Matt Laughlin, our lead editor on Extra Punctuation, gets the call to go get fired. And by that point, we were like, okay, like, what are we doing? Are we staying? Are we going? and everybody just kind of everybody agreed, like, we're
chaos,
leaving.
yeah. It's
Yeah, we're
chaos,
just
right?
leaving. Yeah, the freelancers, everybody said we're leaving. We're not doing this without you. And that beyond that, like, I don't really remember much what happened because it's just been it's just been insane.
So you got out of your way to be very nice. You say, I don't have anything bad to say about Escapist. But come on, like, dude, like they were clearly disorganized. They clearly had unreasonable expectations. And I mean, when you say Escapist, I say gamers, right?
Yeah,
May not have anything bad to say about it. And I'm not asking you to say anything bad about it,
yeah.
but I am saying that, like,
It
there clearly has to be some resentment towards the way the situation was handled based off of unrealistic expectations, which seems to be something that, as somebody who's worked in corporate games media before and had budgets and all that stuff, it doesn't seem attainable, especially when the vast majority of your business is built around using YouTube as a billboard to promote offsite ways of revenue, right? Whether it's Patreon, whether it's whatever.
I have resentment for all 5 years of corporate media where my team believed in me and I knew what I was doing. I knew we weren't going to get 6-figure sponsorship deals. It didn't happen for 3-4 years at EG. Why was it going to happen at Gamers all of a sudden, right? And so, like, business minded me is going, like, my team and I went out and sold more sponsors for what we were doing than the corporate company did. So we had basically been preparing for this moment for the last 5 years, as we basically were independent already. We just had a corporate company paying our paychecks,
Right.
which is why, people are like throwing around conspiracy theories, like, how did you guys do this so quick? How did this happen? It's like, well, we had the team and we had the structure, like, it was already there. We just had to take it to a new place. But I mean, like, gamers paid us well. Like, we weren't underpaid as editors or anything like that. I was paid very well. Yahtzee's paid well. We had good benefits. I like most of the people. I like most of the people there, besides the people that stabbed me in the back. But other than that, like, Gamers as a company is actually not a bad company. Like, they have a very smart SEO model that builds the backbone of their websites, and it works. It just, the problem is, like, the type of content we wanted to create wasn't compatible with that.
Right. So lots of questions in the chat, and I think one of the this is interesting. This is did they think they could just fire everyone and keep Yahtzee and Frost and nothing would happen? Was that the thought?
Yeah, I mean, they weren't going to fire Omar, our head of production, and Yahtzee or Frost, I think, and they basically tried to task Omar with handling the rest of the shows that we had, which was, there was no way that he was going to be able to do that. So I think that was their expectation, is like, Yahtzee and Frost, both of them edit their own shows, and then, my team is just kind of overhead that they didn't need.
Mm-hmm.
But they didn't realize how much I actually do to keep that team running, and how much, like, everything we do as a team is collaborative. It's not one person running the show. Like, even me, like, yeah, I'm called editor in chief, but half the time, like, I'm just working with the editors to, like, basically flesh out their ideas and get things moving. So
right. And that makes sense. Like I said, having, so after I sold Screw Attack, I worked with Full Screen for 3 years, and ultimately Rooster Teeth for 3 years, because they bought Rooster Teeth as well. And the one thing that really shocked me, after, specifically when Full Screen paired us up with Rooster Teeth, was how little they knew about anything that we were doing. They knew nothing about us. And they don't know anything about your brand. They don't know anything about your audience. They don't know anything about your, really anything.
Yeah.
And it's just like, we'll figure it out. And then that's where the suits and ties come in, and they say, well, you have X amount of dollars, and here are your KPIs. And, like, if I never have to hear the phrase KPI again, Labs, do you know what a KPI is?
Isn't that something to do about kill streaks?
No, Blabs.
It's KPI, isn't it?
Dev, do you know what a KPI is?
I don't. I'm sorry.
Key performance indicator.
Yep.
Oh,
So,
yeah, I learned that like many moons ago.
So you need to get X number of views and generate X number of dollars, and this is how we're going to judge your success, with your KPIs.
Yep.
And as I know, everybody who works like generic corporate jobs watching us now is just vomiting in their mouth from the KPIs. It's ridiculous. Lord Spleech wants to know. He says, maybe the Escapists should burn down the house by bringing Movie Bob back. Just a thought.
God.
Did you deal with Movie Bob at all?
Yeah, I mean, Movie Bob, he's got a fiery personality on his videos and everything, but he's a very sweet guy in person and stuff like that. Like I made sure that he got like the big picture back before he left and everything like that. So I'm like him and I have a good relationship, and
Bob,
it's,
yeah, Des, go ahead.
He has like 18 internet controversies following him around.
yeah, it was
He's
not easy being the editor in chief and having
Yeah.
Movie Bob around, but I still love the guy, and
Mhm.
he's a very nice person
Mhm.
outside of Twitter.
So
I actually very much agree with you. He's like, and he got to start on Screw Attack forever ago, and that's where we like first platformed him when he was just doing gaming stuff. And yeah, and then when he's off Twitter, he's actually a pretty nice dude.
Yeah, yep. I when I was working, I was like, please stay off Twitter for today. Just stop. I love you, man. Like just get off Twitter.
so here's the thing. Like I'm definitely an outsider in this space, right? Like I'm mostly a viewer, way more than I am somebody who has connections or works a real job. This is still very surreal to me, right? So I don't know anything about the corporate stuff. I did know somebody who was part of Maker Studios when Disney bought them, and the story that they told sounds very similar to the story that you two just told.
It's the same story for all these companies. Like and the reason, like one of the reasons, like we knew exactly what to do when this happened is because I've studied what happened with Defector. I studied how the Kind of Funny guys left. I studied how Colin's Last Stand started. I studied MinMax. Like I modeled everything that we did on the Escapists while we were under a corporate company after those guys, because they're successful where all the corporate media sites are failing. It's like maybe so I spent my 5 years trying to get them to understand, like, there is no sustainable model in corporate media when you have shareholders to please, that you're going to get 10 million views on YouTube and it amounts to like $5,000, and it's you can't sustain that. It's impossible. You get one video that goes 10 million views and they're like, how do you do that again? I'm like, who the fuck knows?
Right.
If I knew, I would be the most successful video person on the planet.
Okay, so corporate media, obviously, we all agree. Everybody here agrees that corporate media is it probably won't exist at least as they're trying to exist in 5 years from now, right? This is something that people who are investing in this, they always think they know better, but at the end, it's always the same story. So how long does Kotaku have? How long does Polygon have? Like, I think Rooster Teeth is gone in a year.
I don't know if you saw it, Craig, but Kotaku just had a whole bunch more layoffs like 2 days ago.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah.
Well,
the only way these sites survive, and that's why I was trying to get ahead of the game with the Escapists being under a corporate model, is a fan-funded platform. And you can have that under a corporate model if they let you do it. But when you have to make, I don't know what the CEO's pay or my boss's pay or anything was, but I mean, like, when the team that's making the content is being treated as well as the guys that are just coming in with a strategy that makes no sense, and they didn't even pay attention to the content you're making, that's where it fails.
Right.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you basically need the owner with the vision, in a sense, right? Because I've been following Yahtzee since before he joined the Escapist. And in my own research for this, I did look back into the Escapist history, and I know that you came along after Alex Macris sold the company, right? Yeah, and he had kind of a fiery personality too, but you could tell he was passionate about it. Like, it was a private owner. It wasn't a whole bunch of different owners who own a whole bunch of stock, and then they have like a board that then works in their interest. It was one guy who owned it. And for better or worse, at the very least, you knew that one guy, he had a consistent temperament, he had a vision, and he wanted to build a company in a certain way. Now, if you disagreed with that's one thing, but at least you could all be on the same page. But when you're dealing with a whole bunch of stockholders and a board, it gets very dicey.
Yeah, well, I mean, a lot of these companies, like, especially Enthusiast Gaming, you go look at their investor deck, and it's like, we have an audience of 300 million people across all these sites. And I'm like, no, you have an audience of 300 million clicks, because those are not dedicated audience members paying attention to anything you're doing besides what is on Google. That's not an audience.
But what do you think about this? Leave us a comment down below. We read every single one of them. Also, make sure you hit the subscribe button, because you have found your home for common sense in the gaming and entertainment worlds.